welcome to Capitol Hill. I'm Lyndall Curtis. The debate begins in the Senate this week on the government's mining tax, and it looks like the government will get it through. But it looks like it won't get through the company tax cut for medium and big business that the mining tax helps fund. The Greens want the company tax cut to only go to small business. The Coalition's opposing any company tax cut funded by extra revenue from the mining industry. Also today, in question time and just afterwards, the opposition started debating a law and order issue, effectively blaming the Labor government for what the opposition claimed was a rise in illegal gun importation. Joining me to discuss the day are Labor MP Stephen Jones and Liberal MP Luke Simpkins. Welcome to you both.
Good to be with you, Lyndall. Thanks, Lyndall.
First to the mining tax and the Greens' decision to block with the Coalition the tax cuts for medium to big business.
I never thought I would see the day that the Liberal Party would join with the Greens to vote against a tax cut for business. That's what Mr Abbott has announced today.
It will be a modest cut. We took a 1.5% cut to the last election. There will be a modest cut that we're taking forward at the next election. What you'll get under us are tax cuts without new taxes. What you're getting...
Stephen Jones, isn't this all upside for the government? You get to blame the Greens and the Coalition for not letting all of your company tax cut through, but you get to keep some of the mining tax revenue, and that helps build the budget surplus.
We're committed to delivering the tax cuts, and we're committed to the entire MRRT package, which is a simple idea but a good one, which most Australians support. The idea is if you're going through a mining boom, then you want to spread the benefits of that boom and ensure that some of the benefits exceed this generation in the form of infrastructure, in the form of superannuation payments, and in the form of tax cuts to businesses. We think that's good economic policy. Every day that Tony Abbott opens his mouth, he releases more policy contradictions. I mean, this is the Liberal Party siding with the Greens against business for tax cuts. Every day he opens his mouth, he adds to the $70 billion black hole that he's got to fill.
But isn't it up to the government to negotiate with the people who helped it form government, with the Greens, if you want the tax cut for medium to big businesses to go through?
We expect the support of every member of Parliament that says they support business in this country. The Labor Party is standing up and saying we support business, we support particularly small business and delivering tax cuts for small businesses in this country, but all businesses across this country delivering tax cuts. Now you've got the Liberal Party day in, day out standing up saying they are the party of business, and yet when they have the opportunity to put to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, they're found wanting, they're found missing, adding once again to their $70 billion black hole and leaving business out in the cold.
Luke, you belong to a party that's long advocated lower tax cuts. You took a company tax cut to the last election. Can you really be seen to be siding with the Greens against a company tax cut now?
Well, we see there are other things wrong with the mining tax, Lyndall. This is about fiscal responsibility, really. And if you look at over the forward estimates, there's $17 billion of expenditure related to the mining tax, $11 billion of revenue being generated. This tax is embedding a structural deficit for the future. Fiscal responsibility, it isn't. And that's exactly what this government is known for.
But in the end, isn't it up to the government to come up with the money to pay for the company tax cut at once? Can't you say, yes, of course we want company tax cuts to be lower, and it's up to the other side to pay for it?
We're on the record, 1.5% in reduction in company tax.
Is that still the Coalition policy? Because Tony Abbott today would only say he wanted a modest company tax cut. He seemed not to recommit himself to the full 1.5%.
Well, Tony said it today, and we are committed to that tax cut. But you know, this is also the tax cut that apparently was meant to be in from the 1st of July, and yet we're not going to see it. It isn't even in we haven't even seen it come to the Parliament yet. So
you have seen it come to the Parliament. You've seen it come to the Parliament in the form of the MRRT legislation.
But
you guys voted against it.
It's a separate piece of legislation, Stephen. The legislation won't even go into the Parliament for the company tax cut until budget week.
The revenue comes from the minerals resources rent tax. The revenue which supports and this is the difference, Lyndall. This is the difference between our side of politics and the Liberals. They run around the country promising everything that they can't afford. So day by day, every time they stand up and open their mouth, They add to the $70 billion black hole in their budget, which they cannot fill without wiping out thousands and thousands of public sector jobs, thousands and thousands of government programs. It is the equivalent of closing down Medicare for a year. That is what they are talking about. So they can stand up and say we believe in these things, but they've got to be able to pay for it. And I think most Australians, when they look at the mining industry and they see they are making record profits, say it is only fair that we share the benefits of the mining boom. After all Australians own these resources, and we should be sharing them now to spread the benefits of the mining boom and into the future so that something is left behind once the mining boom ends.
Lynn, what I would say is that this is the third level of taxation. We've already got royalties, we've already got company tax, and now the government wants to bring in a mining tax.
But it will refund at least some of the royalties, though, won't it?
That's the $17 billion of revenue, of expenditure the government is talking about, and only $11 billion of revenue coming in. So they've got the black hole. They can't even get a tax right, Lyndall. That's the trouble.
The issue, Luke, is simple. Do you support a tax cut for Gina Rinehart and Clive Palmer? Or do you support a tax cut for the 100,000 small businesses of this country which are struggling and need some relief? That's the simple issue. And you've sided with Gina and Clive. That's fine, but you're going to have to wear the consequences of that.
It sounds like Wayne Swan being channelled again here. The reality is that tax isn't currently in place, so there's no tax to be cut yet. And we're opposing it, that sort of tax, and particularly when it puts in those black holes, the $6 billion of expenditure over revenue, and the government hasn't been able to explain that.
We might move on. While it was under fire in Parliament today over the company tax stance, the opposition tried to change the game, focusing on its accusation the government was cutting Customs and Border Protection's budget and making it harder for Customs and Border Protection to screen cargo for illegal weaponry.
Their incompetence in stopping the boats flows directly into their incompetence in stopping the guns. They can't stop the boats, and now we know, because of what's happened in New South Wales today, they can't stop the guns either.
It's a bit rich, the Liberal Party talking about cuts when they've got a $70 billion black hole. It's a bit rich. It's a bit rich when they talk about cuts.
The Minister will be directly relevant.
When they want to sack 12,000 government workers.
Luke, I listened to both the speeches from Tony Abbott and Scott Morrison in the Parliament today, and their accusation that the increased spending on border protection on asylum seekers had led to cuts to Customs' other activity, particularly air and sea cargo screening. But is there any evidence that is happening?
Well, I think when you look at since the 2007 election, a $34 million reduction in real terms of the Customs budget, the focus completely on the illegal boat arrivals across the North Coast. And so all that, the manpower, the money's been stripped away, the manpower's been moved to other places, and that's why we've got a 25% reduction in the screening of sea cargo, 75% reduction in air cargo. And just a year ago, I was at the Fremantle port facility, and a supervisor tried to say that to me, that there were less containers being checked at Fremantle Port, and he was stomped on by his superiors at the time.
Stephen, whether it's directly related to the spending on asylum seekers, the government, or not, the government has been trimming and trimming and trimming the public service through its efficiency dividend. Isn't it possible that government cuts have led to a cut in screening and that there's more illegal weaponry coming in as a result?
This whole issue is both reckless, ridiculous and irresponsible. Reckless because under the way they raised this issue in Parliament today undermines existing investigations that are going on. They obviously don't give any consideration to that. They thought they'd make a cheap political point and hopefully a headline in the paper tomorrow, but it undermines existing police investigations. Reckless. Ridiculous, because what they're trying to do is cover up the inadequacies of their mates in the New South Wales government, who are, after all, directly responsible for the police force and the law and order issues. Now, irresponsible for this reason. Here you have a party that wants to rip $70 billion, that says that it is going to be able to find $70 billion. Well, the 12,000 public servants won't even touch the side of that black hole in their budget.
But you're already cutting the public service, in fact, more cuts each year. I ask my question again, isn't it possible those cuts are having an impact on the ability of customs to screen cargo?
Well, there have been cuts made to the public sector, and you know, the other side are calling for more. The other side is saying we're not cutting far enough. But what is clear is that this is just clearly an attempt by the opposition to use a smokescreen to take attention away from the fact that they're embarrassed about the fact that they're not backing the small business tax cuts. They're embarrassed on behalf of their mates in the New South Wales government who have the direct responsibility. But let's just assume they're right for a moment. You know, that Australia Post handles about 6.1 billion parcels each year. 6.1 billion items of mail each year. Are they seriously suggesting that we should be screening each and every one of those 6.1 billion pieces of mail to see whether there is some contraband in? Clearly they're not. It is nonsense. And they know it's nonsense.
Could I ask you both, Stephen Jones, the government, as I said, is trimming the public service. Luke, the coalition is proposing cuts to public service. Should there be areas of the public service that are exempt from cuts? First to you, Luke.
Well, I think that when you look at the actual responsibilities across the whole public service, there should be line item checks on basically expenditure and positions to see what is essential and what may not be essential. You know, it just makes common sense. In a future where we've got to be fiscally responsible, a big change, then we've got to look at exactly these sort of situations. So I would say, you know, if you're talking about the Australian Defence Force, the uniforms, no. If you're talking about police and customs, no. But if we're talking about the remainder of the public service, everyone should be called to account.
Now, look, here's the ridiculousness in the proposition. I mean, look, you should know this because you are a former Defence Force member of the Defence Force. You should know if you take a civilian out of the Defence Department, out of an essential job that needs to be done, what you do is you make sure you create a situation where a uniformed person has to do that job, except at twice the cost. Now, successive governments know this,
should there be areas that are
and you should know better than making those sort of ridiculous statements. And it's the same in the Australian, the same with the Federal Police, the same with all of our frontline agencies. I happen to think that we have a very good public service which is doing a fantastic job under difficult circumstances, and I don't think really there is much more fat there that can be cut out of it. So when you come to trimming, the decisions that all governments have to make is what programs are we going to cut, and there's no way that you can deliver your $70 billion savings that represents your black hole without doing the equivalent of closing down entire departments, the equivalent of shutting down Medicare for a year.
But I've done this before, but I'll ask my question again to you, Stephen. Should there be areas of the public service that are exempt from cuts?
I respond in exactly the same way. I think the public service is doing it tough at the moment. I don't think there's a lot of capacity for them to be trimming, but the government asks from time to time for areas to be looked at, for savings to be made, but we are getting close to the situation where more public service cuts can only be delivered by program cuts, and they know that, which is why their $70 billion savings is such a fraud.
And that's where we'll have to leave it. Luke Simpkins and Stephen Jones, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Linda.
And thank you for joining Capitol Hill today. Be with us at the same time tomorrow. Good night.